Griffin!
Yeah!
Look, yes, moving a little bit. Yes. What is that?
It's so disrespectful to the established.
37. In 53 games in Erling Haaland's first season in the Premier League, he scored 52 goals. Of those, 44 were non-penalty goals. And of those goals, 37 were one-touch finishes. Cold-blooded. Second season, he's fatigued from a treble-winning season, suffering from stress injuries and not at full fitness for a lot of it. Kevin De Bruyne, the man who provided most of his assists, is injured long-term. He's not being fed the ball as frequently nor precisely, and let's be honest, he goes through a bit of a slump.
He's almost like a League 2 player.
Yet, he outscores everyone pretty easily. His goals per 90 only drops from 1.17 to 0.95. He's now dispossessed and miscontrols the ball far less. To be fair, his touches per goal do rise as players get tighter to the one-touch striking Viking. Still, over here is a table of the top 10 scorers in the league last season, and as you can see, at the top we have Phil Foden. You scroll all the way to the bottom, and Erling Haaland sits with an average of a goal every 25 touches. This man is an anomaly. This season, fresh off no European Championship, he's had a lot of time to sweat Clash of Clans, and he's out for blood. So I was a little bored the other day, no football on, all the paint nearby was already dry, so I had no real true entertainment. In search of something to do, I thought, I was an engineer once, let's brush up on the leaps and bounds we're making in AI. I watched all of Erling Haaland's goals since he joined Manchester City. At the time of making this video, that's 101. Then I followed that up with his goals for Borussia Dortmund. So in this video, I pretty much just want to yap about the Scandinavian cyborg and how rapidly he's evolving. Hello, hope you're doing well. Welcome back, subscribe. Soon Erling Haaland will have been at Manchester City for longer than he's been at any other club. 24 years old, and for a man of 1.94 meters, he has no business running 36 kilometers per hour as he was clocked earlier in this year. It's genuinely terrifying. He's already playing at the highest level there is. Top of the Premier League twice in a row, Champions League winner, and it could still be years before he peaks physically and mentally. Technically, there is no higher that he can go. Well, I mean, that's not entirely true. There are two places that I can think of that he can go, but that's a story for another day. Anyway, at the time of making this video, since Erling Haaland joined Manchester City, the club has scored 207 goals in the Premier League. More than anyone else, of course. He scored 73 of those goals and assisted 13, meaning that he's contributed directly to 41.5% of Manchester City's scoring output. And he's just lost a match 5-1 versus Austria on international duty, so Wolves is going to pay for this. I suggest you all go for the triple captain. There are so many records that this man has broken since he joined Manchester City that it's just impossible to list them all in a single video, and every new week there just seems to be some new egregious record being broken. He's like the reverse Manchester United. We all talk a lot about player positioning and how the best players are able to manufacture real estate for themselves and score goals, lose markers, make plays. Statistically, there is no better player in the entire Premier League at attacking positioning at the very least. And with an XG of 0.93 over his entire City career, his actual scoring rate of 1.0 shows us that he's making great use of that positioning. And the scary thing about this stat is that just from the eye test, you can see that he misses a lot of chances. Now, I watch quite a lot of Manchester City actually, just in general. Sometimes it's a hate watch, but mostly it's because I'm often in awe of how untouchable they can be. He makes at least 5+ great runs per game, but he isn't found for the vast majority of those runs because Pep Guardiola doesn't like to lose the ball, and when he does get played in, he's almost never offsides. In fact, I just checked the Premier League website, and he's been offsides 15 times. in his entire Premier League career. This is Alvaro Morata's per game stat. Darwin Núñez isn't too far behind. He angles and times his runs to perfection. Of course, it does help that City do pin defenses back, so it's kind of hard to be caught offsides against a low block. But I've seen this man get in behind far too much for this to actually be an argument for 15 offsides goals not being impressive. Anyway, let's just go back to the expected goals for a second, just for comparison's sake. Here's the expected goals versus actual goals for all the leading scorers of each top 10 Premier League side from the last seasons. But it's not like the details matter, he dusts all of them. Of course, it's also worth noting that the reason Haaland's able to rack up numbers like this is because he is the focal point of his team. Not all of the guys listed over here are, and even in the cases where they are, not every team functions like Manchester City. Disclaimer aside, if they had a Haaland type in their team, they would endeavor to feed him at all costs. Because despite being the focal point of the attack, every team knows that his teammates are going to be looking to find him. They can't stop him all the same. I believe he scored against every single Premier League team that he's played against. For this next bit, I'm going to just play a slideshow of first touch finishes and the positions he finds himself in as examples while I talk about it. As I said in the intro, there are a lot of examples. The ones I'm showing here are just some from his first season at the club, and as you can see, it's not just the positioning, it's the variations of finishes, both feet, his head. The only thing missing is the elusive shoulder finish. Balotelli is not impressed just yet. This one always gets me. He receives one of the outside boot crosses that João Cancelo was so good at, and for some reason, his instinct is to throw his boot at it? He has absolutely no business doing this. How did he reach that high up? Who told him to do this? To this day, there seems to be this myth that this guy has a terrible first touch, he can't contribute to the play, and he's just a bum when it comes to anything but goal scoring. Which, I mean, listen, if you're comparing him to Bernardo Silva or David Silva or whatever, then yeah, it's pretty much a bum when it comes to that kind of play, but he's not those players. He can contribute, he often does, he can go deep, he sometimes does. I remember watching him, Sancho, Bellingham and Royce dance around defenders. It's true though that he doesn't do it as much at City. He's no Harry Kane, which is someone who a lot of people seem to be comparing him to. I'm not too sure why. They're not the same profile of player, nor will they ever be, nor will they ever need to be. Kane himself is an abnormal player. Again, Haaland has never had a bad first touch per se. I say this based on his time before going to the Premier League, but since his second season, his close control in the lead up to goals has been on full display. He racked up 15 first time finishes out of the 29 non-penalty goals he scored last season, a pretty big reduction from his first year. More and more he seems to be taking touches in situations where he would have previously shot from the hip. Whatever the reasons for that, perhaps final ball quality went down with De Bruyne being injured, defenders simply getting tighter to him, or getting more comfortable with composing himself surrounded by bodies. This can only be a good thing for City. It stretched over to this season too. His second goal versus Ipswich is a good recent example. He sprints towards goal, heads it past the keeper and scoops it out of reach of the defender. Like I said, he's always been able to do this stuff, but it's quite nice for me at least to see that the stats are lining up with reality. I want to end this video off by briefly talking about something that I have been, I guess, alluding to over the course of the video, and that's just the weird comparisons and detractors for this guy. Now, there are people, real life people, even to this very day and age right now, living and breathing, say that this guy is a tap-in merchant and that's all that he can do. From a non-box perspective, he's useless. A weird thing to say about a box player, but you know. And this is not me referring to people like Roy Keane, who said the infamous League 2 or Championship level player. I don't actually think he believes that. He's saying that to get a rise out of the audience. You wanna be in the video? Okay. There you go. Hello, say hello, Peachy Pooch. She said hello. Because I don't actually believe that Roy Keane believes that. I just find it all very strange. These are real life people that I've come across. These are the same people that if all the problems in the world were fixed would find something to complain about. They're like IGN with their game reviews. How have they given Sparking Zero a 7? When it comes to Haaland, people are just becoming more and more accustomed to his greatness and to poke holes or willing to advocate for him to become something that he's not. It doesn't help that he plays for City. The craziness of him just scoring all the time is lost on some when it's a direct contributor to City winning everything all the time. I'll be honest, he doesn't always come across as likable. There was the infamous scenario where he threw the ball at Gabriel's head and then after told Arteta to be humble. But these are the same sort of things that people have been praising for his entire career so far, that he just seems to be himself. It took Aguero 158 games to reach a century for City. Already crazy numbers. It took Haaland 105. He's doubled down on what he's good at, and it works. Some even say that Haaland would never be able to do this for another team. A weaker team, a team with less quality in the final ball. Take that away from him, and he's nothing. Really? Are we forgetting that this man came from Dortmund, where he managed a goal a game in 89 games before turning 22, and before that he was at Red Bull Salzburg, where he averaged the same, and while both of those teams are good teams, they're objectively worse than Manchester City, and in both teams he was allowed more space to run at defenders and bully them even more. And the question of quality is also just quite a silly one. I think it's fair to say at this point that the floor of service that Erling Haaland is going to be given in his career, going forward at the very least, is Jadon Sancho, Julian Brandt, and Marco Reus, which is a pretty high floor. It's going to remain that way for the rest of his career. When he joined, him and his father were quite candid on the fact that his goal is to play in several different leagues as he progresses. So we can expect him to move from elite team to elite team. Before we really wrap this one up, just as a little bit of fun, I was a bit curious to see where Erling Haaland currently ranks against a 24-year-old Cristiano Ronaldo and a 24-year-old Lionel Messi. Just for fun. And before any of you say it, yes, Lionel Messi was never an out-and-out striker, and Cristiano Ronaldo only became a goal-scoring machine kind of after 23, 24. And if you're one of those people who have those objections, shush, humor me. Just humor me for a second. Here's how it looks. These numbers include goals for both club and country across all competitions, and they are based on the end of the season in the year where they turned 24. So Ronaldo turned 24 in February of 2009, so this ends at the end of the 2008-09 season, not on his 24th birthday. Right now, Messi sits on 845 and counting, and Ronaldo sits on 906 and counting. And he seems determined to reach 1K. However, when they were 24, the picture was slightly different. Ronaldo had just moved to Madrid and Messi was about to score 92 in a calendar year. This was before he scored 92 in a calendar year, by the way. So here we are. Haaland in front. 272 goals versus Messi with 206 and Ronaldo with 144. Of course, both players decided to go nuts over the next decade and a half and did things that none of us knew before were possible. Haaland has scored an absolute crap ton, but for him to reach Ronaldo's current numbers, he would need to score 41 goals every year for the next 15 years. To catch up to Messi, he'd need to score 43 goals every year over the next 13 years. Silly, silly, silly numbers. But can he do it? Anyway, there we have it. That's enough yap from me. Let me know what you guys think about Erling Haaland. That's all for me today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you're having a great day. Cheers, and I will catch you in the next one.